Hey there, entrepreneur. Welcome to the Scale to Sell podcast. Welcome to a special edition of the Scale to Sell podcast. I promise, for those of you watching this on YouTube channel or seeing this on social media, I don't normally wear party hats, but it is a cause for celebration. I know he keeps looking at me funny. There's cause for celebration. We're excited because this is the 1 year of the podcast. And we've learned a lot. We've done a lot. We've talked with a lot of business owners over the course of the last year. And it's so exciting to see where all of this is going. So we're taking you kind of on an inside look at some of the conversations that we see as the top takeaways for business owners to really help you out wherever you're at in the business, whether you're looking to still grow, you're in growth mode, or whether you're looking for an exit and wanting to make sure that you've got the right kind of plan for you. We're excited to be able to talk about that. And then at the end, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we see upcoming, some reminders of the things that we have planned for you, and some of the opportunities that we're looking forward to in the coming year. So, Steve, welcome to our special celebration. And with that, I'm going to remove the party hat. I did not ask him. I knew he wouldn't wear one, so I already got rid of it. Yeah. So, Steve, we've talked with a lot of business owners, a lot of M&A experts, and other professionals who help business owners answer the questions that they need to about what it takes to grow the business, about what it takes to exit on their terms. What are some of the takeaways in your mind of the lessons that we've seen over the past year that can really stand out to you as helping business owners?
The knowledge, the lack of knowledge is one thing. If you're a large business, publicly traded, there's all kinds of people that can help you sell your business. But a small to mid-sized businesses, there's not that many people out there doing what we're doing. And so we're trying to, if you remember the numbers from earlier podcasts, only about 30%, 20 to 30% of all small businesses ever successfully sell. That exit, that's trillions and trillions of dollars that are going to fade away and go into the sunset. So if nothing else, is the education about the opportunities. Many people don't know their opportunities. If you're maybe a baby boomer owner and you're looking to exit at some point in time, how do I do this? There's not a whole lot of people out there doing what we're trying to do. Assign value, know the value, grow the value, and then how do I exit? What are my options? There's so many things that we've learned and talked about, and we're just getting started.
Oh, for sure. One of the things too, going off of your point about the 20 to 30% that sell, I think of going beyond that, of those that do actually sell, a year later, the stats aren't good, right? You've got 70% of business owners who look at the situation as it went down, what the exit looked like, what they were able to get, and what they're doing now in this next chapter of their life. And they aren't happy with it because they didn't plan properly.
So you can, 76% I think is the real number that are unhappy a year later, as you mentioned. So sometimes that means they've harvested enough money, but they didn't think about what they were going to do with their time once they were done with the business. Even if you hang on and they keep you on, the new owners, for 6 months, a year, whatever it might be, what do you do when you don't have to be anywhere on Monday? What do you do when at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, where you used to be working, doing things, you're now got free time? Every minute's free time. So, but many times it's, maybe you can find you got hobbies and things to do, but people really don't understand how much money it's going to take them, how much money they're going to have to harvest out of that business to commingle with personal assets to maintain that lifestyle. If you've been successful and you've built up a lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you figure out in retirement, it's not going to be the best seats at the ball game, the multiple vacations and picking up the tab for your family members, driving the cars, taking the vacations that you want. If that has to be cut back because, oops, I didn't know my numbers, I didn't know what it would take to maintain my lifestyle. So there's many things to consider before that exit.
One of the phrases that we've used and I think about often as we're preparing content, as we're talking about our conversations with business owners and understanding their situation and what they're trying to achieve, is the idea of what you don't know could cost you millions, or at least many, many thousands of dollars. But the idea of sometimes we make decisions not really knowing our options, not really knowing the state of things as they are, and that ends up impacting the result and the ramifications of what we've done.
And we've also, at first I thought it was just there was so much need on the exit, But I come to find out there's a lot of need on just building and growing the value of the business too. You're right. What do I not know? Having mentors or a kind of a board of trustees, a board of directors, other people that have been there, done that, thing can help you pave the way to improve the value of the business, increase the profitability of the business, and increase and improve those exit options when you do walk out. If you do, you're going to walk out the door one way or the other. As I joke, it could be in a box. Some owners go, I'm going to work forever. Well, you're not going to live forever, so you're not going to work forever. So we make people aware of growing their value, protecting the value, harvesting equity. We've talked about that one on recent podcasts. So there's so many considerations, much different than if you're just an employee types in that type of situation.
Oh, for sure. And thinking about what you want your legacy to be when you aren't there to work, when you aren't able to be a part of the business anymore, both in terms of the financial legacy that you're leaving a spouse or your family, but also the legacy of the business. I don't know a business owner who's put oftentimes decades into a business that just wants it to crumble because they didn't have the leadership in place. They didn't have the processes and things that they needed to have that continuity. But oftentimes that's what we see, especially with internal transfers kind of going down the road. They don't last the generations that we would like them to when you don't take the time to think through these different
systems
concerns.
and processes. We've stated this a number of times during this past year. Only about 30% of all businesses succeed when you hand it off to the next generation. You're talking about your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews. Only a 30% chance, and the numbers drop down from there if you go to the next generation. By the time a business typically gets to the third or fourth generation, the odds of it lasting just aren't very great.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's the point of what we're doing. A lot of this goes back to the mindset and the approach of the business owner. For a lot of business owners, we talked about this one too, they are more of an operator. They operate the business more than they truly own and guide the business. So they're so busy with the day-to-day things, so busy working in the business that they don't have the chance to work on it. And you miss out on the opportunities to really add value, not only for the business, but add value in your life that you're able to take back time and enjoy and be able to really have a full life.
It's huge, because if you're the go-to person on everything, if you have to be there, if the business can't run without you being gone for a day or two or a week or more, then that business is probably not transferable. It's not transferable to your family members. It's not transferable to a third party. And even if you do hold on to it into your 80s or beyond, if you ever want to have some life, I've never met it. There's a lot of owners said they're going to work forever, and they always got to have an exit plan there because, again, death is not a great exit plan. It is for some. But, what happens if you can't operate, or even just having a quality of life? I've been one of those people. Earlier in life, I was accused of being lazy.
Which I've never known, by the way, in my lifetime.
Well, that was when I was younger. Didn't like stuff I was doing. I did. If I don't like to do it, I don't, put much heart into it, and was accused of being lazy. And then I became, you're a workaholic. You're just anyway. So now I appreciate my time off much more than I did in the years past. And my businesses are set up where I can actually go away and not have to worry about phone calls in the middle of the night or issues here or there. And anyway, and so as an owner, you're always having it in the back of your mind, but not having to be engaged all the time or never having time off. All the money in the world means nothing. You get through here and all of a sudden you're 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, and you look back and you go, wow, I got this big old stack of money, but I'm 70 years old. What can life goes quickly. You got to enjoy it. So there's got to be a balance, of course.
Absolutely. Well, and I think there too, I appreciate from the perspective, if you're a first-time listener. So Steve is my dad. And I've seen the transition that you've made in your business from being that kind of lifestyle operator of having to do all of the things and being the go-to person for everything, and the growth of the business being solely dependent on what you were able to produce, to this understanding of what no longer being the limitation on the business by getting other people involved and being able to grow it because you've got a team of people that are working and accomplishing those goals. And it's a lesson, right, to business owners that you don't have to do it that way. And you can learn and grow yourself as a person and as a business owner and be able to make it past those things and into a stage of life where you get more of that balance of life. We're able to enjoy things while at the same time having a thriving business and not make it an either or choice.
Even if you don't want to give up the business, you got to have to your point, you got to have teams in place. You got to learn how to delegate. Well, they won't do it as good as I. Well, then you're always going to be involved in the business.
And you're going to limit your growth.
And that may or may not be true, by the way. So,
Yeah.
I've seen some people think that they can do it better than anybody, and that's not always true. But even if it was, you're going to limit your growth. Maybe you want to open a new location, but if you have to be there you can't be in two places at one time or multiple places at one time. So delegation, all these things, work-life balance is something that we try to talk about beyond growing the value, protecting the value, harvesting the value, and then what happens to the business at that next phase of life. We've talked about, this is probably not on your list, we talked about the different exiting options.
Ha! I have it on here.
You do have it on there. See, I didn't even see how much I pay attention to the script beforehand. But anyway, let's go ahead and go through that because I think it's important because people not knowing their options. I just talked to a business owner just in the last day or so, and their daughter has been running the business, successful business, been in family for over 40 years. And his exit option is he's not going to sell, or at least that's his thought now. She's going to run the business. She owns a small percentage of the business, and his exit is, hey, she's going to run it. I'm going to get paid. It's hers when I leave the planet. Yep. Well, I told him about protecting value and making sure if something happens to her, will you have to jump back into the business when you're 80 years old, 83, 85? It's unlikely to happen, but it could happen.
Well, and it's important too, because sometimes you just think of exit options as the basic broad categories of, am I going to do an internal sale or an internal transfer, an external sale? But there's a lot more variation and various forms of, hybrid exit options too, that give you the flexibility to create a plan that works for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be, this strict, this is how everyone has to do it type thing. There is some flexibility in some exit options, and if you're familiar, we've talked about Walking to Destiny and a number of other books, and they often list 8 varieties, kind of broad categories of exit options. And if you don't know what those options are, it's going to be hard for you to see that as a possibility. And it might be the right one, the right solution for you and your approach of what you're trying to create, of the transfer that needs to happen there, and what's going to work for your personal situation as well.
Internal options typically, I don't have to worry about a sale because my kids are going to take over the business. Well, it better be a well-designed business, and making sure that those people that have now been employees of your business, even though they might be your kids, are they entrepreneur-minded? Can they run the show? Will people respect them? The clients, the team respond to them? Do they want to put in the hours, or more they want to have a lifestyle too? So will that business succeed to them? So maybe it's not a family member, operations manager, or other internal person. And there's ways to sell. We believe, I think you should take some equity out of the business. Take some risk. So get them some skin in the game. And there's ways to do it where they can get, most of the time, maybe 100% financing to take some of that risk off the table, because they may take the business to new levels, or they may crash and burn it, or it may go sideways. The external sales, I don't even think people even know all their external opportunities out there either. You can, it's a competitor that looking to grow into your market, or just, grab it because they like your people and processes. Will you get enough equity out of that? That hinders a lot of people too. They think their business is worth more than it actually is. So knowing your numbers, we'll talk about that before we end the show today. So a competitor, a family office, that's wealthy people that have got cash set aside, and they're paying people to go out and acquire cash generating businesses. Or maybe it's a a hedge fund manager. Is any number of ways, a third party, people out there with cash. There's so much money floating around out there. We've seen people that didn't think they were going to sell, and then the money and the opportunity was so great they couldn't turn it down. Or originally they thought their kids were going to take it over, and the kids changed their mind and wanted to go in another direction. So we're just making you aware of all those things, and that's what happens here in the podcast at Scale to Sell, and goes and it really is invaluable to you, I think, just the information.
Absolutely. And so for the last one that I have here, before we kind of talk about some of the other things that are up and coming and things to stay tuned for, be on the lookout for, is the idea of knowing your value. I think if we have done nothing else on this podcast, hopefully the drumbeat of us continually bringing up the need to know your value and the clarity that it provides, not only for you if you're trying to grow your business, but also to understand what is going on and how you can use that to plan for your personal finances as well, is so huge. And so few business owners actually take advantage of the power of knowing their numbers. It's shocking, but we have this opportunity, right?
Knowing the value part of it. I talk to business owners sometimes. What was your annual sales last year? Well, I think they have I think sometimes. Sometimes they really know. They know their EBITDA. They know everything. I've seen them both. And so it's all over the scale right there. But knowing that value, if you're going to grow your value, you got to measure it. You got to know where you're at. And you can grow. Well, our profitability, our sales went up this much this year, but what does the market say it's worth? You got to protect it. I think back right now, just recently, we're thinking about the people in California devastated by the wildfires. And many of them, unfortunately, because of whatever it might be, the government or other situations, the insurance companies, some of them didn't have homeowners insurance.
Yep.
And so a lot of them had their life savings, most of their value, most of their net worth tied up in that real estate, sometimes millions of dollars. And now the insurance company is not insuring it for whatever the reason might be. My point to you is most business owners, you got to know the value to protect the value. What do you mean protect it? What happens if you can't work? You're disabled. Mm-hmm. What happens to the income? What happens to the business? And that's why you want to have structures in place. But if you have key people in your business, like the one person recently, their daughter's going to take over and run the business, they need to have some key person insurance on her. God forbid she's younger, but God forbid something happens and she's not here any longer. And it would be okay, and to at least relieve some of that pain and distress of losing a family member, to have $500,000, $1 million because of a key man insurance policy where they could go out and hire 2 or 3 people to replace that daughter. So there's protect the value, grow the value, and knowing that it's always good. I have people come in, sometimes they're 5-10 years away from retirement, and we run a retirement ready or not scenario. I said, I realize you're not retiring for a number of years now, but it's always good to know that if you were to retire today, if something changed and you had to go out today, your 401k, Social Security, perhaps there's a pension, you have enough money to retire on today. If we work another year, another 2, another 5, another 10, it's just going to be better than that. My point to you business owners, you don't, unlike a 401k, you don't know the value of your business, your largest asset. So how do you know? How do you know? You just assume because of a chance meeting with a competitor, somebody else in the industry, maybe something you've read in a magazine article, on a blog, or maybe you've seen online. Well, hey, I heard if you're doing $1 million, you could get this multiple in my business. Just because they can doesn't mean you will. All right. So knowing the value, to grow the value, to protecting the value, and at some point harvesting the value, either for you or your family, one of the two.
Absolutely. And that's why we've offered, and we continue to, if you go to scaletosell.com/value, you can get started with our team helping you out, getting that free estimate of value. You can see what the business is worth, understand the opportunities that you have, and just be able to make better decisions based on that data.
That most recent one I just mentioned, that where the daughter is running the business, his exit plan is for her to continue to run that. They wanted to get the opinion of value to protect the value.
Yep.
All right. And so he's not selling. So most cases you think you only need to know the value when you go to sell. That's not true. They wanted to know the value. In many cases, it costs thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to get that opinion of value. And you got to be careful who's giving you the opinion of value, because some people in the industry really aren't that skilled, or just shoot a number out there to try to get the listing if you go to sell. Our team, free of charge, no cost to you. because of your relationship as viewers of our podcast, followers on YouTube or whatever other sources, radio shows, whatever it might be. Our team will do that opinion of value at no cost to you. And it's pretty simple. Basically a trailing 12 months and a balance sheet. That's really all our team needs to get that opinion of value. And it's at least a good start to benchmark and know where you're at, so you can either grow or protect or harvest that equity.
Absolutely. So that's a lot of different areas to talk about, but it was a lot of podcast episodes this year. So there's that. Certainly more that we could cover in this, and we will continue to. So we're going to talk for just a few minutes about some of the things that we're going to continue doing this year, and then some of the new opportunities to look forward to as we continue on helping business owners with the tactical and practical things you can do to grow your business and to exit on your terms. So obviously, we're heading into year 2 of the podcast, and that means more episodes, more guests, more opportunities there. So as always, stay tuned to those episodes that come out on the first and third Thursdays of the month. We're excited about those. And of course, the Business Builder Thursday emails that we send out each and every Thursday, highlighting different areas of your business and life to help you win at work and life, as we often say. And then the last one that I want to make sure, we haven't talked too much on the podcast before, but I do want to make sure that our viewers are aware of them, is that Steve, oftentimes you'll do a special business owner money school. For years, you've done money school for your other clients who are not necessarily
I'm a financial advisor.
Yeah.
I'm a financial advisor. I like to teach people about money, and then they decide whether they want to work with us or not.
Absolutely. And so you started doing a business owner money school, where typically once a month we'll do a special topic specifically related to business owners. Why do you think it's important for them to tune into those free online opportunities?
Education. It's what you don't know that's costing you money. And are you on track on the most recent one, retirement ready or not for business owners? I came up with a client, hypothetical, but it could be millions of small business owners out there. And I showed them what their retirement would look like without harvesting any equity out of their business. I showed them in their situation, they wanted to exit in 5 years. That was their target. And I showed them how much money they would have to get out of the business to commingle with their personal assets to live their best life, to live the life that they've come accustomed to. And so that gave them a good target. And fortunately, and that's, in this situation, the one I'm thinking about, although it was hypothetical, that couple was on a really good track, but now they knew. It's always good to know where you're at and if you're on track or off target. And what do I got to do over the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, if in their case they wanted to exit in 5 years' time. It's hard to time the market, by the way. You think it's hard to time the stock market? It's really hard to time the perfect exit for a business. It's almost impossible, like timing the stock market.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about, a process that could take months. We're not talking about a click of a mouse to try to make a trade and time the market way.
Or sell a house even,
yeah.
Right? So, yes.
Absolutely. So we're excited to continue those opportunities so that you have the resources you need, make an informed decision about your life and business and all of those things that are going on in there. But we also have some new opportunities too. And so, Steve, why don't you talk about the opportunity of understanding the future value of your company?
So, I own a few different businesses, and one of the ones that I have, multi-billionaire owns the company, and they heard about Scale to Sell. And they like really the markets that we're going after, not the large markets, not the publicly traded markets. That's not who we're really working with. Small to mid-market type businesses, and there's a gap right there. There's just not a lot of access to the same level of service to grow and or exit. So we were meeting recently. We're at a meeting a few months ago down in Atlanta, and we were talking about opinion of value, the current value of the business. And one of the teammates that is there in this team that they're building up to support, and we're going to help them grow. They're going to help us grow. And anyway, and one of them had developed a software program that can project out in 1 year, 2 years, and 5 years, future value. So not just current value. What is the future value of your business? I think that's exciting as heck. I love that one. If nothing else, stay tuned for that one. Let's get your current value, and let's show you in the upcoming months what the future value of your business, the run rate you're on in the industry you're in, and you keep doing what you're doing, here's what the value would be. But if you make these changes right here, here's what the future value can be.
Could be, yeah.
What profit gap are you leaving? Well, how much money are you leaving on the table annually because you're not running best in class? What value gap? What would that business be worth in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years if you do this, this, and this? It's not that complicated. People think that many of these steps are really difficult and hard. Most of this stuff is just common sense and simple to take part in. So I'm really excited about, yes, get your current value, your current opinion of value, but what is your future value? I don't know anybody else doing that. A nod to the small and mid-market businesses, and where I'm excited about that, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to see what could be possible, right? Not a guarantee. There's certainly variables in there, but the point is those things are the things that we often see in successful businesses. And what is the opportunity there if you make those kinds of changes? What could you see in your business? That's certainly a helpful possibility. And as you're thinking about what you want your future to look like, the role that could play if your company is able to grow in those ways.
And you've got some strategies coming up as well, right? Some things you've been working on for quite a while.
Yes. So one of them, we often talk here about the 4 intangible capitals, about the teams and the structures, the customers, and the culture of your company. And one of the areas that we've seen with many business owners, especially in the small to mid-size, like we've been talking about, is they really don't have their processes in a format that is really systematized, that is organized for the business to be able to operate. And so one of the things that we've done is we put together a program, the Business Playbook Program, to be able to help you do just that. Get the playbooks that you need for the roles and for the company as a whole, to be able to not only have the stability and the continuity of, if someone leaves, you've got the opportunity to get someone filled in that position who's up to date, up to speed with those tasks and can fill in. But also as someone, if someone is looking at buying your company, coming in from the outside, looking at it, having those systems and processes in place, documented and up to date, right? Not 50 years old, not from a previous presidential administrations from decades gone by, but up to date, can be very powerful and can be a good boost to the value of the company, because you have those things in place. And so we've got a system to be able to help come alongside you, help you understand how to do this in a way, use technology to be able to make that simpler, faster, and at the same time, make it a useful tool that can be beneficial to your company now as you're still trying to grow.
Grow the value of the business. Some estimates that you can improve the value of the business by just documenting processes, what people do, by 10 to 15%. So whether you're looking, it's going to make you more profitable if you're holding on to the business, but it can also drive a higher exit number, sometimes hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in additional revenue. And this is typically you do it once, and then you just do it again as roles or your company changes. It's not something you have to do all the time.
No, but one of the things that we do often see with companies is that they'll do it once and then it just becomes a dusty document in the bottom of a desk drawer, instead of something that they can use to help maintain the quality of the processes that they're doing, or look at it as opportunities of, if technology changes, how could you advance and create a better system with the technology? And so simply documenting the processes and looking for ways to make things better is a great way to add value and a great way to demonstrate to those looking at your business the value of your company, because you have everything in place that you need.
We won't let you forget. We're going to remind you. Okay?
We're just going to keep telling you.
That's
it's
right.
Okay. And the last one that we want to talk about is the scale to sell system. So we've been working on an online course that is not just like, hey, watch this video type thing, but is really interactive and comes with the tools that you need to help you win at work and life. And so it starts with, appropriately enough, knowing your value, but also getting an idea of what you're wanting out of your life and having a life plan and a business plan. And then it moves on to growing your value. So know your value, grow your value. And we really focus on those 4 intangible capitals and provide systems for each one to be able to help you think about how your business can grow based on how you work those and improve those 4 areas. And then get your value. What does it look like to have a team of people not only while you're still growing the business, but as you're trying to exit as well. There to be able to help you to understand your exit options and to really understand how to harvest the value of your business even before you exit.
And I would tell you, if you think you don't have time to work on this, you're the one that needs it.
The most, for sure.
Because again, whether you want to have a life or you want to sell the business, it's got to be transferable. It's got to be duplicatable. And that will really help. I'm really excited what you're putting together there, Adam.
I think it's going to be great because even from what we've already seen with the people that we've been working with and talking with about their businesses, we see what happens when that light bulb moment goes off. When they truly understand what the opportunity looks like for the business not to be solely reliant on them, that they can have a team that can help them scale the business to grow it to where they want to take it and can still have the life that they want. It's a powerful opportunity. And again, like you were saying, if you're thinking you don't have time for this or there's no way you'd be able to get that done, the way that we've built it is really manageable, and it's designed to help free up your time to be able to focus on the areas of value that you can add high levels of value, not just the low value tasks that we often get bogged down with doing.
I think it'll improve your health, lower your blood pressure. You get better rest because you're not actively working your business while you're sleeping. There's so many things that are running through your head, and that's an indicator that you need some help. Or I can't go back to it enough. It's if you ever want to sell the business for a best-in-class type multiple, you need to have things that are transferable, because you are not, something else you learned through this past year, you are not typically part of the sales. You wanted to exit the business. So whatever it might be. So we have a lot of new stuff coming up here, and I'm excited about each and every one.
So stay tuned. It's a great opportunity for you to continue listening to the Scale to Sell podcast. Keep looking at the Business Builder Thursdays and watching Business Owner Money Schools. And we'll, of course, keep you up to date with the launch of all of these various things. But before we sign off, just want to say a very important thank you, because you are the reason why we have these conversations, why we go through the effort of putting these things together, because we know what's possible when you know what your options are and you realize what you can do and that you can actually win at work and life. And so thank you for taking the time to listen, to follow along with us. We'd love to connect with you and talk about your specific situation. Again, scaletosell.com/value, or click the link in the show notes. You've made our first year of a podcast tremendous, and we can't wait to see what happens in the coming years. Until next time, keep scaling.
Thank you for listening to Scale to Sell with Adam Burton and Steve Burton. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.scaletosell.com or give us a call at 757-313-4080. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Scale to Sell. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing, tax, legal, or other advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding your personal or professional plans. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.